page 141. Page 141. Ma tovu alecha, o alecha Yaakov. Ma tovu alecha, o alecha Yaakov. Mishkenotecha, Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Oh mein Gott. Wie schön,
Mishkenotecha
dass wir dabei sein können. So schön, dass das geht.
Ma tovu
Oh,
alecha, o alecha Yaakov. Ma tovu alecha, o alecha Yaakov. Mishkenotecha, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Mishkenotecha, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chazdecha, aneni be'emet yishecha. Morning blessings, beginning on page 151. It's the custom for us to rise as we're able and greet this day together. I'll ask Cheryl Hurwitz to share with me in leading these, beginning on page 151. I'll begin. L'shem yichud kudsha b'richu shchintei, הנני מוכן ומזומן לקבל עליי מצוות השכל, ואהבת רעך כמוך, ובזכות זה אפתח פי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, המעביר שינה מעיניי ותנומה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, הנותן לשכבי בינה, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, רוקה הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, פוקח עברים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, מלביש ערומים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, מתיר אסורים.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, שעשה לי כל צורכי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, ששני בצלמו.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, ששני בת חורי.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, ששני ישראל.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו חי עולמים, הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen. We'll continue now from our seats with gratitude for all the proper functioning of our bodies and the pure soul that resides, I want to say, within. To breathe in our gratitude and breathe out our connection with one another. We'll continue now with an English chanting following the themes beginning on page 177. This familiar way of singing these words for our community, and just reminding everyone to ask if you please respond to each of these English phrases. Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. Blessed is that life force, and blessed is its name, its many names. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Lai, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose speech is the world. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one forever creating. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one seeking and acting. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one separating and sustaining. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose love fills the earth. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one whose compassion gives life. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shema. Blessed is the one bringing us full circle. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one living forever. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. 181, page 181. Yachid Chei Haolamim Melech Meshubach Umeforad Adei Shemo Hagadol Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Lehulah Batishbachot. Amen. Page 209. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. Practicing gratitude. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. Page 211, appreciating the wisdom of age. צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי אשר אדוני, פסורי we'll go to the final psalm once, page 231. I was going to say once again to return to that opening melody. Let us take a moment here to breathe deeply. This Shabbat is a chance to inhale fully, even more fully than we might give ourselves the space to do during the week. And then to feel that breath. Connecting us with the life force. Page 231, the last verse of the last psalm. Kol haneshama te'aleluya, alleluia. 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 Kol haneshama te'aleluya, alleluia.
With huge appreciation to Cheryl. Page 247. Welcome on Zoom. Welcome in the room. We are a community. We rise as able, as one. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Havaya Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam. Yotzer or uvore choshech. Ose shalom uvore et hakol. These words have inspired, by scholars' estimates, over 3,000 pietistic poems over the years called Yotzrot, picking up on that word Yotzer, God as creator, shaper, former. What does it mean for us to inhabit the creation made and sustained by another, but whose sustenance is now equally in our hands? In a moment, we're going to pull out just one of those 3,000 plus from tradition, but first, a modern one of the most important voices of our time, and bringing in a little extra Kentucky today. We are thrilled to invite Julia Graff, Maria Leia's aunt, to read from their hometown prophet, Wendell Berry. This was composed for a recent Earth Day, but it speaks to every day.
Earth Day Poem 11. The need comes on me now to speak across the years, to those who will finally live here after the present ruin, In the absence of most of my kind, who by now are dead, or have given their minds to machines and become strange, overqualified for the hard handwork that must be done to remake, so far as humans can remake, all that humans have unmade. To you, whoever you may be, I say, come, meaning to stay. Come, willing to learn what this place, like no other, will ask of you and your children, if you mean to stay. This land responds to good treatment, I heard my father say time and again, in his passion to renew, to make whole what ill use had broken. And so to you, whose lives taken from the life of this place I cannot foretell, I say, come and treat it well.
Page 253, transliteration on page 255, as Wendell Berry's challenge, what are we and our children called to do if we mean to stay here? El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim, baruch umvorach befi kol neshama, godlo v'tuvo male olam, da'at u'tvuna sovavim hodo, המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת, בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נאה זיום בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים באימה רצון קונם, פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים באופנים וחיות הקודש, יאללה 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 Ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 269. God is the renewer in divine goodness, every day, always, of the work of creation. Kamur, leoseorim gedolim, ki leolam chasto. Or chadash al Zion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu bimhera leoro, baruch atah Adonai. Yotzer HaMeorot. In a moment, the Shema, preceded by the blessing that wraps it, as our tradition says. So this is the last break before the Shema, and the Shema is the first of many things that Moria Leia, known to some as Maria, will be leading this morning. And so it is such a pleasure to call her up for the first of many, along with her parents, celebrating an amazing milestone in this family and in this community. Julie, Jameson, Maria, please. These blessings come from the two of them who have done such a remarkable parental job in both cases, but they come through all of us.
I wrote this down because I'm nervous, so you get to be nervous too. It warms my heart to be standing. Okay. It warms my heart to be standing here today to call you Moria Leia, the name you chose for yourself at the very beginning of your journey to discover your Jewish identity. It all started back in 2017 with, "Mom, I need a Jewish name." On October 8th of that year, you stood on the bima in front of classmates, family, and congregant community to celebrate that name and talk about what it meant to you. Moria, the mountain where Abraham affirmed his faith through the willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac. And Leia, who we hear about in your parashat today, and whose name was also your maternal grandmother's Hebrew name. As your father and I stand here with you today, celebrating the next leg on your journey of self-discovery, my heart is filled with joy and hope and admiration for what you did to get here, but more importantly, how you did it, with an inquisitive mind, an open heart, sometimes with a little drama, but always with your signature creativity. I have many hopes and wishes for you, but today I'll mention only 5. When we were seeking your perfect tallis, you put on the one that you're currently wearing and said, "This one feels like a warm hug." So my first wish for you is that your tallis and all the ceremony and tradition and history that it represents will always feel that way, like holding hands with a dear friend in good times and like a warm and comforting embrace in challenging times. Next, the Leia in the Bible, who started out in a hapless marriage, having been forced to trick her husband into marrying her, may you come to realize that your happiness and self-worth comes from the family, friends, and community you gather around you, and most importantly, from your own sense of self. On the day you chose your Hebrew name, you chose to honor Grandma Noor by taking her Jewish name, and who you honor today by wearing the dress that she wore over 60 years ago, so she could be standing with you here on the bima. As you know, you're here, I'm wearing the necklace of her mother, so we have 4 generations standing with us here today. So my third hope for you today is that you always look to the past to embody the best of it and learn from the rest of it. That you always hold your ancestors in your heart, and particularly that you always embody your grandmother's internal strength, pragmatism, and her deep, soothing voice. Finally, as we look to the future, I wish that you find the you that helps you be the best you. You should know that your father and I are here to nudge you a little, but always to support you. For not so much longer, we can still help guide you, but our role is less about making decisions for you and more about helping you make good decisions for yourself. Since you were little, I've told you you had 2 jobs. To learn and to grow. That's right. As I stand here looking eye to eye with you, wearing 3-inch heels, I think we can agree that you've completely nailed the growing part. But learning is a lifetime endeavor. Today is just another leg in that journey. And my final wish for you is that you continue to take the time to celebrate all the great milestones and achievements along the way. I told myself I wouldn't cry.
You were named Maria for my Nana, Marie Fay, who died when I was just a child. My family remembers Nana for years of hard work, taking care of her family alone after my great-grandfather died in a workplace accident early in the Great Depression. As a child, though, I remember her mostly for hugs and candies. In her name, I wish for you grit and strength and discipline and love and kindness and hugs and candies. May you find here at Adat Shalom a moral core in the teachings of Torah and the spiritual life of the community to help you with the challenges of growing up. And finally, may your hands build and your heart preserve what is good and beautiful in the world.
Why'd you make me cry? That is a tear print on the siddur.
Thank you, and thank you, and amen, and amen. Page 275, the end of Ahava Rabbah, leading us into Moria Leia's led Shema.
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ. Gathering our four corners, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול. סלע באמת להודות לך, ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Shema
ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. לעולם
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך.
והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Have a few moments now to pray through these middle passages of the Shema together on our own, and then join back together at the final paragraph, but first the middle. I ask you to join Moria, Leia, and me on page 282. Page 282, the middle English paragraph. Let's say these words together. So place these words upon your heart into your life breath. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them rest before your eyes. Teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit at home and when you walk upon the road, when you lie down and when you rise. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that your days and your children's days be many on the land the faithful one promised to give your ancestors, as long as heaven rests above the earth. And now page 285. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem, עשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. יישר כוחך. I'll ask you to come back up to the bima shortly, but for now to take a seat with your family and now invite Cheryl Hurwitz to bring us forward in our prayers, beginning first page 291, page 291.
תהילות ליל עליון ברך ומבורך, משה מרים ובני ישראל, לך אנו שירה. בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם, בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אליה. שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים, לשמך על צבאות הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו והמהירו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, עובדי חינומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 295. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי יעקב, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, רב להושיח, משיב הרוח, מוריד הגשם. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה כל חי ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות כל חי, ברוך אתה אדוני, Mechayen kol chai. Page 303. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום. ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון. בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתקדש ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך. כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, ועינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך. כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ישבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please continue with the prayers on the following pages or your own meditations.
the words on page 322, 323. Just invitation here to close your eyes and just picture peace, whatever that looks like to you. Oh, say shalom, bimroma, bimroma, uyasa. Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, ve'imru, Ask us now just to turn back in the Siddur to page 307 and invite Audrey Lyon to come forward and share with us this teaching from Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg, page 307 below the line.
The Sabbath is the signature of the Creator. The world is still being created through billions of years of evolution, emerging differentiation, ascending complexities, and then a pause. In this rest, we human beings experience our relation with the whole. The seventh day is a day of completion. We delight in the goodness of the universe and our belonging to it. How important in our world of manic work and scarce rest to restore Shabbat to its centrality and to allow its holy message to permeate the other 6 days.
Thank you. Join me now, please, page 381. יתקהדה ויתקהדה שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. ישמר אבא מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתבואר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלות הון ובאות הון דכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יש לומר רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Just a moment again to take a deep breath. I had the enormous just gift this morning of being in the congregation to listen to Cheryl Hurwitz take us through the Amidah, and I also had a chance to remind myself what it feels like to sing with a mask on. And I just want to acknowledge that it's not that easy. So just take a minute to extra inhale and exhale. Rabbi Fred will rejoin us in just a moment. He's just stepped outside to join our Limud program and to join in with their prayers. So we'll be back with him in just a few minutes. We'll continue now with the Torah Service. We'll be on page 383. And I'm going to ask Moria Leia to come forward once again and to invite forward to open the ark Julie's dad and stepmom, Jack and Phyllis Stern, to come forward. Page 383. Moria Leia, you can just leave your things right here. In just a moment. Page 383. Shall we do this together? Sure. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch, le'olam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai varech et amo b'shalom. Avarachamim Heitzivcha v'irtzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Kivecha levad batzachnu, melech Elam ben Yisrael, Adon olamim.
asher kuma Adonai ve'afutzu oivecha ve'anusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzeh Torah Udevar mitzion tetzeh Torah Udevar Adonai Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Israel B'kedushato.
Leia, I'm going to hand you the Sefer Torah with your beloved family all nearby. So I'm just proxy for them. And invite you to turn to the Siddur, all of us, page 393. Moria Leia will lead us. We respond.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti uneroma Shema Yahweh.
Walk with me. Lecha Adonai Hagedu. Mazel tov.
Israel.
We can all be seated. Yishar kochech Shemoria Leia. We will have you back up here shortly. And we just have to say again, another tiny little Shehechianu. That was the first full Torah procession we have had in close to 2 years. So thank you, Moria Leia, for bringing us back to that little tiny bit of normalcy.
We also have an exciting new normal of kids praying outside, often with clergy help, which is why you'll sometimes see one of us running out and running back just in time. Maybe occasionally not just in time. Appreciate your patience. Shabbat Shalom. Parshat Vayetze. We are well into the stories of our ancestors, the third generation of the Jewish people, and a whole lot of drama. Jacob is running off to the old country, and en route, he has a vivid dream of the ladder. Literally, I'm out of breath because I kept climbing up and down a physical ladder to demonstrate Jacob's ladder. It's a fun one. And of course, Jacob wakes up and says, whoa, check it out. God was in this place, and I didn't realize it. That's amazing. Which, of course, for all of us is the reminder that God is in whatever place. God is in any place, according to many voices, every place, and we just have to notice. He falls for Rachel when he gets to the old country, and gets duped, maybe, into first marrying his older sister, Leia. Back then, that sort of thing was okay. And for 20 years, he worked for Lavan, his father-in-law, a not very ethical employer, and a pretty dubious father and grandfather. He has at least 14 kids, according to the text. Can you name them all? No one can, because we know of 12 boys and 1 girl, Dinah, but elsewhere it says banot, daughters, which means there had to be at least 14, and they only bother to record the names of 1 of the women versus 12 of the boys. Just saying. He becomes modestly successful. Time eventually to go, to leave the house where Lavan was just sort of oppressing and trying to take everything from this family within. His sisters, his wives, say together, Rachel and Leah agree on this. Have we any longer a portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not like foreigners to him? He sold us and has completely eaten up our resources. So yes, let's go to this ancestral home of yours back to Canaan. And let's keep the Bible going. Right? They don't actually say that because, they don't know what the book is going to say. But they're en route to this place they'd never seen. And while Lavan was out shearing the sheep, Vatignov Rachel et hatrafim asher la'aviha. Rachel stole the terafim that were her father's. Trafim. We're not quite sure exactly what they are. Idols is a very common understanding, and you'll see why in a moment, because Lavan rides after them, trying to catch up, saying, what have you done? Where have you taken my people and my stuff? Catches up on the 3rd day, says, why have you left, and why did you take my gods? Referencing, we think, the Trafim. So it's a big question, what were these Trafim? Why did Rachel steal them? And why does Lavan call them gods? It's helpful to know that the term comes up quite a few places elsewhere in the Bible as divining tools, as something that they thought would help people see more clearly what the right and the wrong would be. And that's often mentioned next to the ephod, the breastplate worn by the priest in the temple in Jerusalem. Trafim ve'ephod. We hear that quite a few times next to each other, as if they are similar. And yet, the prophets say the Trafim have spoken hevel, vanity. They don't know what they're saying. They speak all right, but don't trust them. Later, young David marries King Saul's daughter Michal, who has Trafim in her house. She knew that her crazy dad was going to come after David. She set up the teraphim under the covers and told the soldiers who came to search for David that David is sick in bed. So at least we know from this they had, at least some, had human form. We're getting more clues about what these teraphim might have been. The medieval commentators take this all in and they have a field day. Ibn Ezra, 900 years ago, collected a bunch of the stories. I'm quoting Ibn Ezra so that you get a sense of the landscape, what teraphim could have been. Some say the teraphim are copper objects used to tell time. Others say the astrologers have the power to make an image that speaks at certain times. I believe the teraphim are human images made to draw power from above. I am not permitted to explain this any further. Love it when the commentator says, I've got a secret, and I'm not going to tell you. He goes on in the narrative, that teraphim are in fact idols can be ascertained by Lavan's referring to them as gods. And some say that Rachel stole the teraphim in order to keep her father from idolatry. A beautiful midrash brought by Rashi, the first of these medieval commentators, who says that actually Rachel was trying to do her dad a favor, right? And show like it's no good, right? There's also the logistical thing, because Ibn Ezra raises the question, like, okay, great, Rashi said that, but if that were the case, why didn't she just bury them along the way? Discard them? Why is she keeping them like there's something still special? The most likely reason that Rachel stole the teraphim, summarizes Ibn Ezra, was that Lavan, her father, was an astrologer, and Rachel feared that with the help of the teraphim, he would be able to look at the stars and discover which way they fled. So anything from a logistical plot narrative to actual idols, to actual human form, to some kind of almost sacred tool, very similar to what is used in the holy sanctuary by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. I couldn't resist tossing this one more in, because elsewhere our ancestors' imaginations went wild, accusing the world of Lavan, that now Jacob is making a clean break with, of human sacrifice. This is another thread of the ancient medieval commentary. A firstborn male human being was slaughtered. They cut off his head, salted it to preserve it from decomposing, using both salt and oil. Probably a little garlic, maybe some saffron. They inscribed on the forehead of that slain person the name of a deity, such as a demon, hung it up under the tongue of the slain person whose body is on the wall, lit candles in its honor, prostrated themselves before it, and it would start speaking to the worshiper. Exactly. Gotta love idolatry. So far, it's interesting and it's unclear. But there's more. There's national significance and there's female empowerment, which is why I'm bothering to delve into the story this morning. First, the national significance. Rachel is the mother of Joseph, the grandmother of Ephraim. And of the 12 tribes, Ephraim is the leading tribe of the 10 that become the northern kingdom of Israel. For 2 centuries, when they're divided and a low-level civil war rages between 9.5 tribes and 2.5 tribes, Manasseh is a crazy thing. Actually, so is Levi. But Ephraim, descendant of Rachel, is the capital of the north. And the other great place where there was a northern shrine in those centuries was in Dan, way up north, the wet part of Israel near the Lebanon border. And up there, there was a shrine that had teraphim. We know that from the text. So we, of course, don't practice Ephraimism. What do we practice? Judaism, right? Because Judah, one of the daughters of Leia, was the progenitor of the area around Jerusalem, which would become where Jewish history takes off through. So about 2,600 years ago, the north was destroyed by the Assyrians, 2,750 years ago. The north was destroyed, the survivors straggled south, and it was in that time the Bible was being written. So we have northern and southern stories next to each other, but the editors were from the south. They were from Judah. The temple in Jerusalem had priests with the ephod, and that was okay. But the temples up north had the teraphim, and that was clearly not okay because they fell to the hands of the Assyrians after all. So this is maybe a little infighting that teraphim used to be a perfectly cool, holy thing. They're no weirder than, without the human sacrifice part, they're no weirder than the ephod, the breastplate, the Urim and Tumim, the sacred dice that the high priest would roll to divine the future. Every society's got its weirds, but this was the South saying the North's weirds are no longer acceptable. So there's maybe a little infighting, maybe a little different kind of na-na-na-na-na here. And Dr. Aaron Darby of the University of Tennessee summarizes the account of Rachel's theft is meant to poke fun at the North and explain their connection to this problematic ritual practice of consulting teraphim, which began, the story goes, when Rachel, the mother of the North, stole her pagan father's gods and brought them into the land. But the part that we're actually going to read this morning is what happens when Lavan catches up and asks about these teraphim, these idols, these gods, these divining tools, these human blow-up forms, whatever they are. And Jacob says, oh, I promise I didn't take it. No one in my camp did. If you find them in anybody's bags, kill them. That's how sure I am. Kind of a rash vow to make. And some commentators say Rachel dies young in childbirth soon after this because of that curse. Others note he only said, if you find it. Rachel had hidden them away in the saddlebag of the camel and was lying on it in the tent. And she said, the way of women is with me. I'm sorry I can't get up and hug you. Meanwhile, she's lying on the saddlebag that has the teraphim in it, having overheard the vow. From Women's Torah Commentary. Many scholars argue that Rachel steals the teraphim because her status as a woman in a patriarchal household prevents her from confronting her father with her own grievances. In telling her father that she cannot rise before him because the way of women is upon her, Rachel is, quote, speaking two languages simultaneously. This is academic discourse for what oppressed people do, that oppressed people actually end up being smarter than the ruling class because they have to speak the cultural language of the dominant culture, and they're enriched by having their own. Something interesting for us as American Jews, no longer a primary target of oppression, though still at times very much a target, in many ways part of the mainstream, part of the ruling class. And if we can maintain a little bit of both, if we can speak English and Hebrew, if we can study Constitution and Torah, if we can be known as Maria and Moria Leia, then we too will have that advantage. Like Rachel, who is speaking two languages simultaneously, Lavan hears Rachel as saying she cannot honor him by standing because she's menstruating. But Rachel's speech also reads as a complaint that she has no forum for rising before her father and pleading her case. The social way of women constrains her possibilities for speech, advocacy, and direct action. So Rachel's subversive action in stealing the teraphim is matched by her equally subversive undermining of male definitions of women. And she is creating new meanings out of male-generated language. Rachel thus emerges from this story as an archetypal feminist writer who dares to steal across the border of masculine culture, seize control of her cultural inheritance and make it her own. A blessing that we all continue to cross the borders that are still out there, still delineated, maybe in lighter pencil than the dark marker of the past, but still there. We're still constrained. Gender norms, race norms, nationality, class. Can we be a little more like Rachel, a little subversive, a little more of someone who has one foot firmly in each world and is leading us into the future? Shabbat Shalom. Inviting our first aliyot to come up. In a moment, another very powerful family connection aliyah. We also note that we are missing in person Pam Summers, who would be the gabbai over here, but we should be able to hear her voice in a little bit, and we are grateful. Celebrating what actually good parenting and good grandparenting looks like in contrast to the story in front of us. We invite Kay and Ira up.
Chanting Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato, v'atem advekim b'Adonai Elohechem, chayim kulchem hayom. Okay, and Ira, first to take your talit and touch the place that Kevin is showing, and then we'll ask you to hold on to the Sefer Torah. Baruch Adonai Hamborah. Baruch Adonai Hamborah. Baruch Adonai Hamborah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kervanu lavodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We're on Genesis chapter 31, beginning with verse 17. If you're in the newer Plout Chumash, page 204, in the older, page 210, beginning with Genesis 31:17.
Amen. Vayakom Yaakov, vayisa et panav et nashav al hagamalim, vayinhag et kol miknehu et kol rechusho asher achash miknei kinyano asher achash bepadan Adam lavo el Yitzchak aviv arza Canaan. ולבן הלך לגזוז את צאנו, ותגנוב רחל את הטרפים אשר לאביה, ויגנוב יעקב את לב לבן הארמי, אבל גיד לו כי בורח הוא. ויברחו בכל אשר לו, ויקום ויעבור את הנהר. וישם את פניו הר הגלעד.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet v'hayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So first of all, yishar koach to Kevin Teichman. I think that might have been your first, was that your first physical Torah reading since? Yeah. So what a joy to hear you, and I hope it's the first of many more times. And Kay and Ira, can you just step this way a drop so I can? We are so, so glad to see you here in our space and in your home community after a journey of many miles and many ups and downs. So there's no formal official blessing for becoming grandparents for the first time, but we have to certainly create one. We are so delighted to be with you as you welcome your, God willing, first grandchild. And do you want to say anything about that?
Just she's such a blessing at a time that's been really challenging for our family, with some great pain and prayer for strength and peace for Andrew, my son-in-law. And then Nora came along and gave our family quite a divine gift
Amen,
of
amen.
joy. Mhm.
So we are all standing with you and with Leah and Andrew as they make their way forward in their own journey, and for Andrew to continue with his treatments with success, and for you to feel only enormous joy from this granddaughter. And as I always like to say about babies, may they be good sleepers for their parents and for all the others who care for them. And I ask the community, those of us here in the room and those on Zoom, to please join me in just saying Chizku ve'imtzu, wishing you strength and courage. Chizku ve'imtzu, and also Mazal Tov. Are you hugging? You're hugging.
Thank you.
It's worth the risk.
Mazal Tov to both of you. And you can just come over to this side. We'll continue now with the second reading and calling forth Moria Leia's extended family. Ya'amdu Moshe Dov ben Chanufa Sarah Vedina Bad Yaakov Leia La'aliyah Hashniya. And now Marsha Teichman.
Picking up at verse 22, Kaf Bet of Genesis chapter 31, 210 in the old plout or 204 in the newer edition that has the graphic on the front.
So let me just step this way. Ask you to come forward this way and take your talid and just touch the place that Marsha is showing. And then we'll close the scroll. And if one of you could hold on to the wooden handles.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher karvanu la'avado v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
And then you can just hold this open.
Yivarach Yaakov, vayikach et achav imo, vayirdof acharav derech shivat yamim, v'yadbek oto b'har hagilad, vayavo Elohim, Levan Arami b'chalom halayla, vayomer lo, Ishamer lecha, and tadaber im Yaakov mitovad ra, vayaseg Lavan et Yaakov, v'Yaakov taka et ohalo behar v'Lavan taka et echav behar hagilad. Vayomer Lavan Yaakov me'asita hatignov et levavi v'tinaheg et pedotai tishvuyot charev lama nachaveta livroach v'tignov oti v'lo higadetali v'asha Lecha b'simcha ubishrim ubishirim uvtof uvechignor v'lo natashtani v'nashek v'levanai ubeliv notai ata hiskalta aso yesh le'el yadi la'asot imachem ra Velohe Velo Avichem Emesh Amare Lai Lemor Leishamer Lecha Midaberim Yaakov Mitovan Ra.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'he'olam nata petahenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Shar Koach and Mazal Tov. Join me, everyone. Mazal Tov to Moria Leia's loved ones that are here to celebrate with her, and to Marcia Teichman, who also, I'm just going to call it out every time now. So we have not had many chances to read in person, so it's quite special when we do. And thank you, Marcia. We'll just make a pause now. No, we're not making a pause. Sorry. We'll go forward. And Rabbi Fred, I'm going to ask you if you would come forward since I'm reading. You can come over here. To call forward Moria Leia's parents with delight. Yamdu, Yehudit bat Yaakov Leia, v'Yehoram ben Gary v'Constance la'aliyah hashlishit.
Picking up on the bottom of 210 in the old edition of the Plout, or the bottom of 205 in the new, this is chapter 31, verse 30. And this reading ends with the line about Rachel with the trophy in the saddlebags.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kivanu b'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Hold that open. Amen. Ve'ata lo chalachta ki nichsof nichsafta leveit avicha lama ganavta et Elohai. Vayan Yaakov vayomer lelavan ki areti ki amarti pen tigzol et benotecha me'imi. Im asher timtza et Elohecha lo yichye neged acheinu aker lecha ma imadi v'kach lach velo yada Yaakov ki Rachel genavtam vayavo Lavan ba'oel Yaakov uba'oel Leah ובאוהל שתי האמהות ולא מצא ויצא מאוהל לאה ויבוא באוהל רחל ורחל לקחה את התרפים ותשימם בחר הגמל ותשב עליהם וימשש לבן את כל האוהל ולא מצא ותאמר אל אביה אל ייחר בעיני אדוני כי לא אוכל לקום מפניך כי דרך נשים לי ויחפש ולא מצא את התרפים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Mazal Tov Julie and Jameson. And we'll pause now just for a moment to say a prayer for healing before we call forward our Moria Leia. So just taking time now to bring forward to your mind's eye anyone who's in your circle of loved ones, who's in need of your prayers for healing, in need of your presence in their life, in need of your courage and your love. And for those in the room, I'll ask you to just stand together, anyone who is praying for someone or thinking of someone. And on Zoom, not Zoom, yes, on Zoom, to join us either in standing or if you like to share the names of your loved ones on the chat. One way or another, let's lift up all these names together and say them now. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor havracha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor havracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Be seated. And now we need to tune in extra loudly with our ears because Moria Leia's teacher, Pam Summers, is very much present with us this morning, but is doing fine, but on her own healing journey at the moment. And so we are inviting her to call you to the Torah, Moria Leia, remotely. So listen carefully.
Talmud, Talmud, Habachura bat ha-mitzvah, Moria Leia bat Yehudit, V'yochorem maftira chizki.
Just to prove that that's live, Pam, you want to say Mazel Tov?
Mazal tov, Moria Leia. Thank you, Pam.
Skipping ahead to the end of that chapter, picking up at the top of chapter 32, page 213 in the older edition, or 208 in the new. Genesis chapter 32, verse 1, the end of Parshat Vayetze for the beginning of an amazing adult Jewish journey.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach ha'olam asher kirvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. V'yashkem la'avan ba'boker v'yinashek levanav v'livnotav v'yivarech etem
וילך וישב לבן למקומו ויעקב הלך לדרכו ויבקעו בו מלאכי אלוהים ויאמר יעקב כאשר ראה מחנה אלוהים זה ויקרא שם המקום ההוא מחניים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yasher koach. You may be seated. And Willie, thank you so much. And Shelley, would you be willing to roll things up for us? Thank you. Yamod hamagbiah ta'amod hagolelet.
Please rise. Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei Yisrael. Yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva anu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. What's next? Yeah, intro, and then you've got it all. And then straight into it all. It's the home stretch. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. We can be seated. We're going to turn now to the Haftara. First, you're going to do this. We're turning to. Excuse me. 214. Oh, she's got it. From the words from the prophet Hosea, Moria Leia is telling me, and she's going to tell us too. If you're in the newer Plout Chumash, page 214, or in the older page 344, and you'll tell us that again. And we turn to you for your introduction and your chanting. Take it nice and slow.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Haftara portion I will be chanting from today is from the prophet Hosea, who lived in the 8th century BCE. My reading begins on page 214 of the newer Plout Chumash. I will start at chapter 12, verse 13 through 15, then the verses. Okay, that's just really confusing. I will say the page numbers while I'm chanting when there's a skip, but for the most part, it goes in order. And then I'll be reading the verses. I have no idea what this says. As it says here, I will note these as I chant the text. We read Hosea's words on this day because he references the story of Jacob in the first verse, speaking of Jacob's flight to Aram after he deceives his brother Esau. Shabbat Shalom.
Page 344 if you have the old Plout.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, Habocher Batorah, Moshe Avdo, Uvinviei Ha'emet V'Tzedek. Chapter 12, verse 13. Vayivrach Yaakov Sedei Aram Le'avod Yisrael Be'isha Shamar Uvnavi He'ela Adonai Et Yisrael Mimitzrayim Uvnavi Ishmar Hichis Ephraim Tamrurim Vedamav Alav Yitosh V'cherpato Yashiv Lo Adonai Kedaber Ephraim Retet Nasahu Yisrael Vayasham Babal Vayamot Ve'ata Yosifu Lachato Vayaasu Lahem Masecha Mikespam Kitfunam Atzabim Maseh Harashim Kulo Lahem Hem Omrim Zofei Adam Agalim Yishakun. Chapter 14, verse 1. Tesham Shomron Kimarta Belohecha B'cherev yipolu Alehem yeritashu V'hayirotav yevukau Shuva Yisrael Ad Adonai Elohecha Ki chashalte be'avonecha Chu imachem devarim Veshuvu el Adonai Imru elav Kol tisa avon v'kachtov Unshama farim sefatenu. Verse 10. Mi chacham ve'yaven elech Navon v'yideh Ki yisharim Darchei Adonai V'tzadikim yechuvam Ufoshim yikashluvam Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Ruach ha'olam Tzur kol ha'olamim Tzadik b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'na'eman Ha'omer ve'oseh Hamdaber u'mkayem Shekol devarav Emet v'tzedek Ne'eman Atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'nemanim devarecha V'devarehad midvarecha Acher lo yashuv rekam Ki al ruach ne'eman V'rachaman ata Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el ha'ne'eman B'chol devarav Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod u'letifaret al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach Umivarchim otach יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Yasher koach. So, building on those beautiful words of the prophet Hosea that reverberate, there's a beautiful tradition of adding to the style as well as the substance and amplifying the words of the prophets in our own day. And Moria Leia now steps in as prophet in amplifying Hosea's voice. Please.
First comes the, you just did my introduction for me. I can still do this. Shabbat Shalom. In my preparation for today's celebration, I felt drawn to Hosea's words. His poetic and vivid imagery provide a sense of desperation and a sort of familiarity to the pandemic and other social, mental, or environmental issues I can't read, contemporary to this day. Poetry is an all-encompassing statement from both the mind and the heart, which I was drawn to, and which is why I tried to use that poem-like style. Just as Hosea's own words, my poem serves not only as my own perspective, but as a reminder of the issues of the modern day. Shabbat Shalom. Hosea, the prophet of doom, the one who recognized our ancestors' fate. He looked at their actions, the idols they worshipped. He saw what they had become, that their actions spoke louder than any words, and they forgot the words spoken to them by God and by the prophet that had seen the truth, that had seen the suffering they would inflict upon themselves through their obsession with their present and their forgetting of the past. We have seen this image before, people unable to see one another, sickness spreading through the air, and we are too caught up in the now to look into the future and see the sickness that will torture the generations still unborn, and too caught up in the now to look back and see what we have is enough, and we can bring ourselves back from where we strayed. Convenience and comfort above all else will only serve to dismantle the communities we built, as the problems of one person grow too big to handle, and suddenly it is ours to share, to solve. But we turn away, our fingers pointed behind our backs, too busy placing the blame to fix the issue at hand. And it grows, and it grows, and it no longer fits in the arms of the few until it is unleashed upon the arms of the many, grasping and writhing, and unable to force a solution into surfacing among the waves in the sea of people who have come together in chaos, only to trip and tumble over the people who do not understand, but do not ask, simply pointing their own fingers and shouting, unwilling to look, unwilling to see. The people begged for a leader, and a leader is what they made. No leader can outweigh everyone, and no leader can hold all the power and not be questioned or overthrown. When given a leader who is disliked, the people will revolt, carving their own statue, their image of perfection, their image of power, and they bend their beliefs, their history, themselves, to fit this mold they called perfect. The one who sees, the one who carries, the one who sustains, the one who guides, the one who teaches, abandoned by those who were seen, by those who were carried, by those who were sustained, by those who were guided, by those who were taught, by those who were ignorant and forgot. Shabbat Shalom.
Yishar kochech, Moria Leia. I feel like we need a closing blessing to that new Haftara that you just gave us. Let's just put this here. That's fine. Give us just a second to absorb the teaching you just gave in all of its power and poetry. Thank you. Rabbi Fred and I want to offer blessings to you on behalf of our community. I was sitting there, I couldn't see your face for a minute, and I thought, does she have her mask on or does she not have it on? I couldn't tell. It's on. And that you sounded just as clear and beautiful as ever. And it's really a statement about how I think your generation in particular has gotten so comfortable wearing these masks. You can do pretty much anything in them. So my first blessing is that you and all of the rest of us can take these off in time to come soon. So I want to say something about Leia by way of offering a blessing to you. Actually, two things about Leia. In this week's parasha, Leia receives the blessing of being able to give birth, which is pretty much the only thing a woman can do in her time to prove her value. And she names these children in ways that are very meaningful. She names the first one Reuven. God has seen and provided a son. The second one, Shimon. God has heard and provided a child. The third one, Levi. God is going to show me that now my husband Jacob will stick by me, will accompany me. And finally, Yehuda, the fourth one. And some teachers teach, one teacher that I studied this past week with our Wednesday Torah group, that these four names show a progression and lead to this fourth one, Yehuda, which is a statement of gratitude. It's a statement that she understands what she's capable of, and she also is willing to accept what's not coming to her, and she's still grateful. So that's a blessing I wish for you, to feel always grateful for the good things that you have. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't fight for or work for the things that you want or the things that we need, but to feel that sense of gratitude with you. The second is to bless you with something that you said at our last meeting about Leia, which I don't think it comes up in any of the commentaries, not the ones I've seen at least. Not in this particular way. You were commenting that when you read through the words, you read that Leia is described as having weak eyes. That's the one thing we know about her, which is a shame. And you were saying that in your experience, sometimes having eyes that are turned inward, that aren't necessarily so focused on the outside world, might actually be a sign of insight, might be a sign of tuning into her own wisdom, might even be a sign of her ability to see like a prophet, to have the ability for prophecy. And I wish that same blessing for you. You are entering a chapter of your life where there are going to be, so many things grabbing your attention. And I hope you will continue to stay curious and open to the world around you as you seem to be now. But I also very much hope that you will stay tuned in to that inner song of wisdom that is inside of you. It is a song that we need to hear, but most importantly, you need to hear it. So never stop listening to that, even if it means that sometimes your eyes have to turn inward for you to see and to hear. Yishar kochech.
Amen. And before blessing you in the words of the tradition, just to read a little more of your own wisdom into the record. When we talked about what this whole thing means a good 6 months ago, you said, among other things, and I quote, would like to talk with rabbis more often. And I'm sure in that you were simply channeling what all of your classmates would say, but it warmed my heart. And the answer is we are here going forward. You thought about this in advance, saying it's a special day, bringing threads of identity together and becoming fully one with my culture. Amen. And it is a time to be more known and more knowing and to be more involved. You are more known in a beautiful way today. And clearly you are more knowing. And that is an ongoing process, as is being involved. And we can't wait to be involved alongside you. In the words of our tradition, and we're welcome to say, Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may it be, after each of these three benedictions. Yivarchech Ya v'yishmerech.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Ya'er Ya panav elaych v'chunek.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Yisa Ya panav elaych v'yasem lach Shalom.
Ken Yihi Ratzon.
And we say together the blessing for reaching such a milestone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Simin tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tovu, simin tov, simin tovu, mazel tov, mazel tovu, simin tov, mazel tov, simin
Mazal Tov. We'll ask you to come join your family for just a moment. And now invite your brother, Ronan, to come forward. Turning back to our Siddur, our prayer book, page 419.
Show you an introduction. I should just introduce the poem first.
Sure, yes.
Okay, so this is a poem by Rabindranath Tagore, and it's a prayer. It's a poem of. Okay, it's a poem for peace. And here it is. What do I desire for my country? How do I vision the land that I love? Let it be a land where knowledge is free, where the mind is without fear, and men and women hold their heads high, where words come out of the depth of truth, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way in the dreamy desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward into ever-widening thought and action, into a heaven of freedom. Let my country awake.
Amen. We'll come now to the close of the Torah service and move to our closing prayers. We want to invite Evie and Vic Resmovic forward. There you are. It's sort of starting to feel like normal times again. How lovely. Evie and Vic, of course, active and leaders in our community, but also dear friends of the Graf Stern household. I'll invite us to turn now to page 433.
We rise as we are able.
יהללו את שם אדוני כי נשגב שמו לבדו הודו על ארץ ושמיים וירם קרן לעמו תהילה לכל חסידיו לבני ישראל עם קרובו. כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזבו. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, וצומחיה מאושר. השלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונעשה We can be seated. We'll begin our closing prayers, by holding the memory of our loved ones, those who have been lost to us in just these recent weeks, as well as those who are being remembered from past years. I don't think it's been formally announced in the community yet, so just to share with people that we are extending our warmest condolences to Katie Newman and the extended Newman family on the loss of Katie's mother, Marianne Chicky Coral Smythe. We look forward to a chance to get to know a little bit more about what she's been in Katie's life and the family's life, but especially to send our comforts to them. Also to Lisa Hack, remembering her father Harold Hack, Preston Plouse, remembering his father Bob Plouse, and Bruce Kutnick, remembering his brother Jerry Kutnick, all lost just in the last recent weeks. We also want to acknowledge the following Yortsites: Deborah Levin's mother, Deborah Levin's aunt, Florence Rogel, Ralph Silberman's father, Henry Silberman, Judy Tyson Coppolo's brother, Gene Lesser, Michael Laufer's mother, Rita Laufer, Bob Lubrand's uncle, David Amstey, Kay Abrams' father, Herman Kosak, Patty Friedman's grandmother, Frances Friedman, Phyllis Marcus's father, Byron Hurwitz, Danielle Maytiev's mother, Davida Lutenberg, Marla Zippin's father, Marvin Orkin, Shari Book's father, Irving Kalish, Eileen Dwyer's father, Louis Fogel, Rain Weiner's grandfather, Louis Fogel, Putzi Hirschberg's father, Bernard Wesson, Linda Canefield's brother, John Canefield, Estelle Quain's father, Harry Quain, and Jeff Spieler's father-in-law, Saul Sobel, and also want to acknowledge that his mother-in-law, Eleanor's mother, has also just passed, Leia Sobel, in the past week. Remembering all these for goodness and for comfort, the Kaddish is on page 451, asking anyone who's in mourning or observing a yortzeit to please stand. Page 451, let's say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Gadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'b'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei dekudsha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba min Shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Just want to mention that as we announced to the community via email, Charlie Richmond will have a Shiva gathering via Zoom. There'll be a few people in person at their home, but the rest of us are invited on Zoom this coming Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. in memory of his mother, Marge Richmond.
Backing up to page 445, the last of our major prayers as we prepare to rise to give thanks, to put ourselves in perspective, and to affirm the work, as the second paragraph says, Letaken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to repair the world divinely. 445, we rise in body or spirit. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shenatan lanu torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu, v'anachnu kol הקדוש ברוך הוא, שונש השמיים ויעשה הארץ עם משה על כן נקבל אחריו לתקן עולם במלכות שדה. Picking up near the bottom of 449. כי המלכות שלך היא מעט, תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו You may be seated, except for Jackie DiCarlo. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to repair the world under divine inspiration. That is why communities of faith gather with organizations like MANA in order to make sure that the work of repairing the world happens. We are the agents, we are the instruments, we are God's hands. And along with addressing the sources of hunger, the important work of Mazon and other groups, and stemming the worst of future hunger by preventing climate change and all the good work that Moria Leia and others are doing, there's so much work to do now, and we are thrilled to join you in it. Jackie, please.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here, especially on a joyous day for you and your family. And it's great for me to be next to my colleague Cheryl as you all get back together and to worship together and to have a small part in that. So thank you very much for having me. It's a very big thrill to award you this All-Star Community Award. As you know, we have had a long history of a relationship with Manna Food Center and the local congregations during Yom Kippur. But a few years ago, we decided to add a spice to it, a little twist, kind of like the teachings of, having double meanings for things. So a way to serve the hungry through the very holy traditions of Yom Kippur, but also to make it a little bit of a friendly rivalry among different congregations. And we've been doing this for 3 years now. This past year is when you guys came in first. The food drive and the funds drive, we raised more than, yeah, there you go. 12,000 pounds of food and $41,500 to purchase food. So I'm really thrilled that this year you guys have the name of the congregation inscribed for 2021. You can display it wherever you might like, but yes, I would like to formally present this to you. You get to keep it for a year. You get to show it off. And then we look forward to next year, perhaps congratulating you again. But we also hope next year there will be fewer people who need our services. As we all emerge from the pandemic, the crisis continues for some families who have lost all their savings, who have had financial difficulties compounded by the health crisis. So it is, of course, in that context that we're doing this work and this celebration, but it's also a hopeful act that things are improving and getting better and that there are things to be proud of. So thank you and congratulations.
Here, and thank you Jackie, I just want to say again from Manna Food Center, the director of Manna Food Center, and Dinah Leventhal is sitting right here. Dinah, among your many roles, you are one of our leaders encouraging us to participate in the monthly food packing, which is now resumed in person. So many ways to continue to fulfill this part of our mission as a community. And thank you, Jackie, so much. I would give you a hug, but are you hugging? Okay. Thank you so much for being with us. And I mean, isn't this so awesome? I don't know if you can see that it's a can. It's a can because we gave a lot of cans, get it? So Temple Beth Ami, you're on. I don't know. What did you say, Jackie, about it being a friendly competition? So yes, let's use this to motivate ourselves to stay connected to this most basic and really, frankly, heartbreaking need in our own community, our own county, our own area. So we've come to the end of our morning together, and we want to invite forward Ann Spielberg, our board secretary, to share some greetings and announcements. Ann, do you like this thing or do you prefer? I can leave it for you if you like.
Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov to Mariah, Leia, and the Graf Stern families. This one. Okay. We're so glad to welcome everyone who's joining us to celebrate your Bar Mitzvah, and thank you for your beautiful teaching and chanting this morning. Just a few announcements on upcoming events. Tomorrow at 10:30 on Zoom is the start of the Great Jewish Book Series, looking at the books of Ezra and Nehemiah with Dr. Jerome Kapolsky. Next Shabbat on Friday, November 19th and Saturday, November 20th, Rabbi Josh Warshowski will be here for the Alan Schwartz Music Shabbaton, which is sponsored by Rabbi Sid and Sandy. And if you're able to do so, we encourage you to join us in person. And this week restarts the Good to Know sessions with Lisa Landsman, who's teaching a class on Zoom on no-knead artisan bread making Thursday at 7:30. And I have to personally recommend this. I took a class from her 7 years ago, and I've been baking my own bread ever since. And also part of Good to Know, next Sunday, November 21st at 4 p.m., Martha Hare will be sharing her work on the roots of anti-Semitism, also on Zoom. Further information and links and registration can be found in Social Solidarity and on the website. And we look forward to those of you who are joining us here in the sanctuary to join us for challah in just outside the doors after the services.
And would you?
Before you go, on behalf of the community, right? Yeah, that's quite all right. We are back in person, which means we are back to wearing name tags. And that means every full member of the community gets their own.
Welcome you as official members. Adult members of the community. We have to turn it. This is beautiful. Okay. And this too.
And a gift from us.
And this is also a gift from the congregation. So, Mazel Tov again.
Yes. And no. Okay. Cup of kosher certified grape juice for you, my dear. Want to just say thank you to Jeff Gruber of Blue House Productions, who's been providing all the expert technical support for us to be here and also everywhere else this morning. And once again, Mazal Tov to this wonderful family. Step that way just so you can get in front of the mic. It's a custom to rise now for Kiddush and Motzi.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו, צווארי חבריי
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו רוח העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Am I allowed to chug the whole thing?
Yeah, you can. Leia.
L'chaim.
Labriut.
Grape juice, we promise. And as she does, one more reminder, next weekend, Friday night at 8, as well as Saturday morning into afternoon, amazing opportunity with Rabbi Josh Warshofsky, the Allen Shores Music Shabbaton. Look forward to seeing you next weekend, too.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avot. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, umevorach, Shabbat shalom, umevorach. Shabbat shalom, mazal tov. Mazal tov. Can I get the
Etymology of the word trait.
Yeah, but it's, I was wondering, but it's with a tet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's they throw extra letters in anyway.
No, but trait comes from the Torah.
Yeah, taruf, right? They're torn apart. So it's not clear. I wondered that too, but the different spelling.
thinking the same thing.
Plausible. Right.
That's your crown.
Thank you for your congratulations. I remember Rachel wearing
Yeah, I wanted that bit.
That was why I was like, you get up there and take it. You would. Right. Awesome. Yeah.
Hello, Jerry. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I just had to unmute. Hi.
Hello, Jerry. How have you been?
everybody.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. We
That's
have
good.
a whole group here. Very good.
Yeah, I decided, guys, we are small enough to be in one room.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Hannah. I don't know. It's COVID time. You think we should all be in the same room?
Oh, Steve, you have a new challah for us. We finished the old one.
We did indeed. In fact,
Oh my God, look at that.
Wow.
Oh
this
my goodness.
This one has a story. It was just delivered to me about half an hour ago during the service by a neighbor whose parents are visiting from Israel, and the mom baked this.
Oh my goodness.
This is a delivery. Our friends Karen and David, who we meet every night in the cul-de-sac, as we've been doing for the last more than a year and a half.
Right.
And, so Karen's parents, she's from Israel, and they're visiting, and she made this challah. And I don't know if you could tell, but there's a discontinuity right in the middle.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I couldn't resist. I had to take a slice. So I cut a slice out of the middle and toasted it and had it for my challah. For my.
And did you use Gorilla Glue? Steve, did you use Gorilla Glue?
I didn't glue it back on. I just put it together. And that's the way it looks right now, awaiting Sandy to get to see it.
You must have been
delicious.
Delicious.
You must have been expert at stealing it out of the refrigerator.
Hi, Annabelle.
Say what?
You must have been.
Yeah. Giant is now selling what they call handmade challahs. In addition to their usual one, which is kind of horrible, they have now a handmade challah.
And is it good?
Actually, it's very good. I was impressed.
Wow.
The first one I had was square, so it was, I mean, not square. I like rectangular, which I wasn't used to. But then the next one, the following time I got it, it was more looked like the standard shape. But it's very good to have handmade.
Good to know. You know, when I grew up in Israel, nobody baked challah because you went to the grocery shop and you bought in the morning still fresh, warm challah. And, you know, we always bought extra one because me and my mother would immediately eat in the morning because it was so good. I had no idea you bake challah at home.
Where did we get challah in
There was
Israel?
no need.
We didn't bake it.
I don't know.
I think we bought it when we were in Israel. When we were in Jerusalem, we rented a house in Jerusalem. I don't think we ever made it. I think we actually bought it.
Well,
I don't remember where maybe we bought it in Machnahu Yehuda. I don't know. I don't remember where we baked it, made it, but we did.
We did search for a bakery there.
Well, we searched for a bakery called Kodesh.
The Kodesh-
Kadosh Bakery, which we told was the best bakery in Israel. It took us about 2 days to find it. There was a little hole in the wall. Do you know it? Hannah, do you know it?
No, I don't. But what I'm telling you is that when I grew up, we had grocery shops in every place, little Macolet, and you just went there and they got it from whoever bakery it was, and it was still fresh, still warm. It was just wonderful.
Right. What part of Israel did you grow up in?
I grew up in Haifa, but I
Oh,
moved
in
to
Haifa.
Jerusalem, so it was in Haifa and in Jerusalem. But this
Right.
was 40 years ago. I'm sure things changed. I don't know if there are still even little grocery shops now in Israel. I just have no
Well, when we
idea.
were there were grocery stores when we were there, and we were there in.
Oh, it's a long time
Well,
ago.
Bobby was 14, so it was
The
in
Lebanon-
84, 82. We were there.
It was-
Well, we were there many times, but
It
the
was
time
during the
the
Lebanese
time I was
war.
talking about is 82, and there was a grocery store. We lived in Old Kataman in Jerusalem, and there was a
Yes,
grocery
yes.
store right on our street. There was a grocery store.
I think you're right. They still exist. I just don't know. You know, when I go now to Israel, I don't really look for grocery shops. I look for my relatives. So I just don't know.
Yeah.
We love Mahane Yehuda.
Well, everybody likes.
Oh, me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it's now fantastic. It's, you know, it has a canopy and it's very active and it's just amazing what they did with Machane Yehuda.
Well, it was very, very active when we were there. I love the food, so.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it just became even better.
Oh, that's great.
So let's hear from Eileen. How are you doing and how's your family? I understand there's a COVID case in your family.
Oh, God. Yes, thank you. My brother caught it in August in Texas. Thank you. And he was pretty bad, but we didn't know how bad it was till recently because he also had pneumonia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he
Was
was
he
on oxygen.
hospitalized or at home?
He's home now. He was in ICU at first.
Oh,
You know, he didn't get the shot right away. He did get the shot, but he already had it. So he was in ICU for about 2 weeks on oxygen. They had to bring his levels up. They finally brought him up, and then he went to rehab, which he's still going to. So they let him go home, but he still has oxygen when he gets to be, you know, he does too much. But he's at least up and around, and you know, it's like you have to say a prayer for all those who suffer because there's these long and short-term effects.
Yeah.
And we just don't really know, you know, we just don't know. And we just continue to do our best to avoid it.
Right.
But anyway, he's doing much better. It's going to be a while. So he's coming along. So hopefully he'll be okay. I don't know if he'll be 100% like most people, but maybe 99. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for asking.
We'll pray for his refuah shlema.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to see him in December.
Are his family members there locally all vaccinated?
They should be by now. I believe so. I don't know. My nieces, one of them was very resistant, young people. So hopefully this made her go and do what she had to do. So, but yeah, he's there. So he's got people there to help out, luckily. He was actually moving into a new house when he got sick, and no one knew where the information was for the truck. So everyone had to fly in and help him. So luckily he has some help, and he'll be okay. He'll be okay. Yeah.
Where does he live in Texas?
He used to be in Carrollton, and now he's in Plano. I don't know Texas that well. They're all kind of he's about an hour from, or 20 minutes from Dallas, I think, or maybe 30 minutes, something like that.
Dallas is so huge.
I think we should get off now.
Huge. It's huge. It's really huge.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone else is doing
Are you
well.
good?
And family is
Oh,
doing well.
you gotta get
Look
on.
at me. You can see.
Did you take a shower?
Yeah.
Myrna, how are you?
Okay,
Are
we're
you
gonna
doing?
we're meeting my family and for lunch in a very short while. So we're gonna say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
So, Gordon, tell us about yourself. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks. I think we're doing okay. We just got through our 30th anniversary, and we just got my mother's 90th birthday, and
Wow. Mazel tov.
we went up to the Cape, and now we're having a lot of people in for
Thanksgiving.
so it's all fine. Actually, I was going to ask a crowdsourcing question. I have to find my mother a 90th birthday present, and I was looking for some kind of beautiful old candelabra. And does anybody know a really great Judaica shop in the Washington area? No.
Well, we have one at the synagogue that Chaya Loffer used to oversee. I don't know if that's still intact in some way.
I don't know. Or a Judaica antique store. Does such a thing exist?
I would go online. I don't know about anything.
Okay. Yeah. No, but other than that, I'm doing fine. I have an Irish cello lesson at 1 o'clock. So, yeah, I feel like Sisyphus, me against the cello, pushing the cello uphill. But,
Gordon, I don't know if this is your mother who's hitting 90.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be if it would resonate with her like it did with my father for his 90th. I got all kinds of congratulatory notes from different people. In fact, at the time, a 90-year-old person, you can get a White House, you can get the president to send a congratulatory note, and probably from other things. I did a massive thing where I contacted where my dad went to middle school and high school and his Army unit, and the chief of staff of the Army to send him a congratulatory note, and you name it, from the president down to his personal schools and communities. Because he didn't like gifts, but that was my way of going out, doing something that he would enjoy and get a chuckle out of.
Nice. So sweet. Hey, Gordon, I was just on the internet, and there's a place, I've never been there. Every time I go, it's closed, but it's called Israeli Accents.
I've been there.
Yes,
Have you been there?
Yes,
I've
me
been
too.
there. I bought stuff there.
Okay.
I got a menorah there.
Okay, okay, but it's in Rockville.
Yeah, it's across the JBS more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's near Moti's. It's just down from Moti's.
Yeah.
If you want, I can give you the address if you want it.
It's on Bolingbrook near there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
There was also a note I saw on the email that the synagogue was going to open the store again.
Oh, really? Oh, and who's going to run it? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Haya is away. Haya is kind of California now. She moved out.
Yeah.
And she didn't have time to deal with this anyhow.
I thought that it was going to be, because of Hanukkah coming up soon, that they were going to open the store, but I don't know the details.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I saw that too. They're probably getting some things if they advertising it to the congregation.
I'll take a look. I know also that my old synagogue, Temple Sinai, has a very nice store.
Yeah.
So I almost bought an antique Polish menorah from an online group, and then I just couldn't get comfortable with buying it from somebody I doesn't even have a physical place of business. So
yeah.
Anyway, well, I have to run to make my cello class and do everything in the intro.
Okay.
Enjoy it.
Nice talking to you, Gordon.
Enjoy. Nice seeing you.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom,
How are
everybody.
you doing?
What?
I'm
Were you
asking,
talking?
how are you doing?
Oh, I didn't know whether you were talking to me or not. I'm hanging in there. Is that cat picture behind you? Is that the one that was sick?
Yeah, let me see. There are two of them now. Do you see?
I only see one.
No, no, no.
Behind him, there is a gray one. Yeah, the gray one was sick, not the black. The black is healthy.
Hannah, you
But-
have you don't have a real photo behind you. You have a virtual.
No, I have my cats behind
No,
me.
no. But your background has only the black cat there.
Yeah, oh, I see. It's a black cat
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. But it's not virtual. It's my cat. I think so. Wait a minute. You know what?
It's not moving.
No, you know what happened was I wanted to put a virtual background and I finally succeeded. And now I have this. So, and the funny thing is that my black cat is really behind me. So I thought that it was him. You're right. It's just a funny coincidence. I always was pissed off that when I was off, I didn't have any virtual things. So today I was trying and finally it's working. So wait a
Here
minute.
comes another cat.
Steve, you have one.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Another black cat.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're unmute yourself, Steve.
This is Sirius Black.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's a
Oh,
cute
he
cat.
he'll have lovely eyes if he'll show you there. Oh, Lord.
She doesn't want us to see her eyes. There she goes.
Beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful. Really? Oh, green.
Yeah, she really does.
Green.
Yes, mine is up there asleep, so he probably won't let me bother him right now.
Okay, now it's me.
Yeah.
Now it's me. And I actually, if you can see, my cats are behind me now.
Oh, yeah.
There
Oh,
they go.
yeah.
You see them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both of them, you see?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
How many animals do you have, Hannah?
I have three. I have two cats and I have Amazon dog, Gracie.
Gracie, she's still
I don't
there.
have good news. I don't have good news about Gracie. Gracie had a tumor on her back and she had surgery in March. But the surgeon told me that the margins was very, very thin, and she was worried that it will come back. And sure enough, it came back. It's fibrosarcoma. So there is no point to do surgery again because it will just come again. And so we just decided that right now she's doing very well. I'm just going to give her anti-inflammatory. I'm not going to go to a oncologist and do all this stuff. So far, she's doing very well. And she is a sweetheart, absolute sweetheart. But it's not good news for her and for me.
And for you.
Yeah. But that's what big dogs sometimes get, fibrosarcoma. It's not.
How old is Gracie?
Gracie is 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe almost 9 actually, because when I got her, she was 7 and few months, and I already almost have her 2 years. Yeah. She belonged to, did you know Anna Zanson?
Oh yeah.
I mean, no, I know you, Senna, but Anna Zanson had her. She was her dog. And Anna Zanson died two months after John. So basically, Gracie became an orphan. And I knew her very well. And I said, she's coming with me. And it's a blessing for her and for me. She's just wonderful.
She's a good
dog.
dog. She's a nice
wonderful.
dog.
She's nice, she's intelligent, she's very warm, very warm. She's just a sweetheart.
And you
she has-
spoiled her rotten.
Of course I do. She's my princess. Of course I do. And I admit it.
Gary, how are you doing?
We're doing fine, thanks. That's
Yeah.
what we expected. And
Good to know.
we're
Good to
getting
know.
along.
How's Jan?
Jan, how are you?
Hi, Martha. Hi. Okay, hon. Thank you for
Hi, good to see you.
Shabbat Shalom there.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom to all of you.
Thank you.
And
Shabbat Shalom
Malka.
to you, Jan.
Congratulations on another. You're so talented.
Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm going to be, Bruce and I are actually going to attend in person. We thought about it for a while, but they have good protocols with November 18th is the opening from 4 to 7 in New York. And so I got into the show, and yeah, bragging rights is that piece they chose, which is a fabric piece, is they chose it from 2,100 selections.
Wow.
So I'm
Awesome.
so I figured it's New York, people apply from all over the country. And I mean, I have it's very, very hard to get into something like that. So, so thank goodness.
We know now an important person. Yeah,
Well, a little bit.
nobility.
I'll have my 5 minutes. So I'll be happy.
Of fame,
But yeah, I'm happy about that. But I'm also, next year, I'm gonna have like a solo show at the McLean Textile Gallery.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know what month yet. We're still talking about that.
Nice,
But
very nice.
and then I'm also going to be at the Brookside with watercolors. I'm going to be at the Brookside Gardens in December and January of next year, not this
Next year, wow.
Well, next year's almost here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited.
We're excited too.
Yeah, so I'm still collecting, I wouldn't mind some pretty colored unwanted fabric if you have any leftover sewing projects or just schmatas really that you think that
Okay.
holes in them. If they have holes in them, I love them.
Oh, would you like some magenta fabric?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So I have to tell
You'll
you,
have to give me your address so I can send it to you.
I'll pick it up at some point.
I have a kid in my Hebrew school in Kehila. She is 5th grader, and she is actually dancing ballet, and she's going to perform together with the Miami Ballet Company on Thanksgiving in the Kennedy Center. So of course I bought the ticket to see her because I love this kid to death. So I bought the ticket. When you come to the Kennedy Center, you have to show that you are vaccinated. They don't take you if you're not, and I'm very happy about it. I'm also very excited about her performance. So it's very exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Are you supposed to wear masks too when you're in there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the same thing with the Strathmore Gallery and the Strathmore Music Center. And it's the same for most events in New York City, including the gallery.
Good. I think it's
and you trust that people that go to these things are being honest and they're not buying.
No, they have to show it. No, it's not. Well,
no,
yeah.
but you can also fake it.
I know, but and they have to wear a mask.
Israel doesn't accept any papers from outside of Israel about vaccination. They just don't believe because there were a lot of fake vaccinations.
Yeah.
But
there are certain venues that you're pretty sure somebody's not going to get a fake card to go.
Yeah. But I was pleased to hear it really. And I'm very excited about her performance. Very, very excited.
And she's in the 5th grade?
She's in the 5th grade and she was just chosen. Yeah. So it's very exciting. But it's a lot of work. She practices twice a week for many hours. But that's what she wants to do. So they're all supporting her. Her grandmother is coming from Israel to watch her because the mother is an Israeli. And this kid, her name is Libby, she has 2 brothers that are non-identical twins. I actually prepared them for their bar mitzvah, which is going to be in Israel, in the Tzipori synagogue. Originally, I was planning to go, but Israel with these Michigan rules about the COVID are just driving me crazy. I cannot, I don't know what to do, and this. I decided not to go, but they are going, even if the father is not allowed to go because he's in the military here, and he's not sure that the military will allow him. So if we cannot, they will go without the father. But they will go because Nikki, the mother, has her family there and she wants them to do. Incredible kids, just incredible. I'm so blessed. I will tell you know, I'm no longer really tutor in Adat Shalom, but I have a lot of kids now in Kehila, David Schneer congregation, and the kids are incredible. Not only that they're wise, they are very, very well mannered. And I'm saying it because I was not happy with the kids in Adat Shalom. So I'm so thrilled. Let me just tell you, I knew I always loved to teach, but I didn't know how much I love it. So for me, it's like the best high that I can ever get.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well,
Is
everyone,
anybody
I'm going to have to sign off. I have to get
before
out
you
here.
go, Eileen? Anybody here going to the Israeli trip? I guess not.
I'm kind of on the fence about that kind of travel right now.
Me too.
Yeah, we did look at an Egypt trip for next year, but that might be off the table if it's not any better. So I don't know.
You know, now things are very iffy again with COVID. So
yeah, and I'm still using my walker, so I don't think it's wise with cobblestones and everything for me to go. But God, do I want to?
I would love to. I would love to do that.
Oh, I just want to go to Israel. I don't need a trip. I just want to go because I want to see my family.
Of course.
Yeah. But I'm just very iffy about all these COVID things.
Me too.
They're changing all the time, and it stresses me out.
Well, when I'm ready, I will consult with the experts when we are ready for our trip.
Okay, guys, I also need to go. So have a good Shabbat Shalom and see you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Have a good and safe week.
Yeah, you too. All of you.
You too.
Shalom, all.
Enjoy the
some good
Mr.
challah.
The Challah, Mr. Yeah.
Save some for everybody else.
Enjoy the leaves while they last.
Oh, it's
Shabbat
beautiful.
shalom.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Yesterday they all reflected because the sun was on them. They all became very strong red, very strong yellow. It was just beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom. Happy
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome.